Hi there and welcome to this tutorial. Today I'm going to quickly show you how to create your own feature sheet. So I am in Lucidpress and right from the home screen I can click this plus sign and this opens up a new blank print document in a new tab in my browser. This will be saved in my documents folder. So this will default to a letter size paper, 8.5 by 11. If I do want to change that, I can click in this gray area and select any of these preset sizes, or click custom and change the size right here. I can also change the units. So if you were creating a new document but you wanted it to be on social media, you would choose pixels. So we're good with this size and we're going to get started. So I am going to start off by putting some images of my listing on this feature sheet, and I'm going to do something a little bit different and put them in circles just to show you how you can do this. So I have these circles and I am going to go over here to fill on my shape panel and click and fill, and then choose image and choose image again, and I can either drag and drop an image right into my image manager. For instance, if you had a folder on your desktop with all your listing images, you can just drag and drop it directly in here. You can click upload and choose images, or you can drag and drop directly onto this circle. So I'm just going to choose a photo that I won't be using, but just as an example, I can drag and drop right on there. So I'm going to change this image, and I'm going to choose this house, and I want to scale this up so it's a bit larger. So if I'm scaling this circle, it can change its proportion. It's not a circle anymore, it's now an oval. I don't want that to happen, so if I go over to the layout tab, I can lock the aspect ratio by clicking on this lock, and now it's blue. So whenever I scale this, it will maintain its aspect ratio and stay a circle and not become an oval. So I can adjust the image inside of this crop by right-clicking and choosing crop image, and I can shift my image inside of here and show what I want to show of the image. So one tip I do give people is to make their image a little bit larger than the crop box. So you can see right here that top and bottom of the image are right at the edge of that crop box, and I don't want any white space to be showing in my image to make the circle look funny. So I'm going to scale my image just a little bit larger and make sure that I have a little bit of image above and below and on the sides of my crop box. And I'm going to hit enter and go ahead and place an image in each of these circles. So click fill or drag and drop an image. Click image here, choose image, and wherever you have your photos, choose fill, choose image, okay, now I have the photos that I want to use, and I want to scale both of these up. So I'm going to click and shift and click with my mouse, so I've selected both of them, and I'm going to go to layout and click on that little lock so that when I do scale these, the aspect ratio is maintained. So that looks good. I'm going to make my living room just a little bit larger, and I want this kitchen in front of all of these, so in front of this living room. So if I right click and arrange, I can bring to the front, so now that is in front of the living room. Okay, and let's scale this kitchen down just a little. Nice balance there. If I click and highlight all three of these, I can do Command G or Control G and it becomes a group. To edit inside of this group, I just double click, and now I can edit these images individually. To exit this view, I just double click outside of the group, and now I'm back to my regular view. I can scale these all at once in a group just like that. And to easily get these images centered in your document, you can select them and go over here to the layout panel, and down here under Arrange we have Align. So this will left align, center, right align, align to the top of the image, vertically align, and align to the bottom. So I'm going to center these items, and if I click with my mouse and hold Shift, it moves it in a straight line. So I'm going to put a banner at the top. And one nice thing about Lucidpress is it helps you align items. So this will snap to the edge of different elements, so you can see those blue lines. It's snapping to the left of that circle and the top of that circle. And this will also snap to the edge of this document. You can feel it. So the other thing you can do is go back to your layout panel and align it this way. And I'm going to make this as wide as my document, so I can either do it this way or go over to layout. And I know this is an 8.5 by 11, so I can just change that size and hit enter. I'm going to go back to shape, and I have this border on this box, and I don't want that border, so I'm going to just click down, and that makes it 0. And I'm going to change the color to Reinhardt brand color. And I'm going to make this a little bit shorter. So now I have a banner. I'm going to go over to text, and right here we have some preset text for you to make it easier to make documents like this feature sheet. So I'm going to grab this script heading, and if I just click on it, it'll land right probably in the center of my page, or you can click and drag. And I'm going to change the color of the text to white. So I'm on my text panel. Every time I click on something, images, shape, it changes the panel on the right hand side. So now it's changed to text, and I can change that to white like it did. Alright, I'm going to change the type, and I'm just going to put okay. The default for text boxes is to align to the left of the text box. I want this to center in my document, and to get it centered perfectly, I'm going to choose center here, and then I'm going to also align it to the center of the document. I'm going to make my heading background just a little bit smaller, and I'm going to click on this text and center it by eyeballing it with my arrow keys. You can move elements incrementally with your arrow keys. So I'm going to put a shadow, a drop shadow on these. I'm going to click this button right here, and it puts a drop shadow, and I can change some options here of my drop shadow. I can adjust the angle of the shadow, the opacity, to this makes it darker or lighter. And the distance, this makes the shadow bigger or smaller. And the blur, this makes the shadow sharper or softer. So I'm going to leave it just like that. I'm going to change it to 30. Okay. Now I'm going to put some body text in here. So this is a preset size and font. So it's Lato at 10 point. Lato is one of Reinhardt's brand fonts. So I know that if I'm using this with a pre-styled brand template, that I know that it's going to match most of Reinhardt's brand templates. So I'm going to go and grab some text from a property details page, and let's just copy this right here. Copy and double click in this text box and paste it. So I'm going to show you that if I had a background, I'm going to put a background on this, and I'm going to just take this box and make it the size of my page, and then I'm going to right click, arrange, and send to back, and then I'm going to remove this border, and I'm going to change the fill to a gray. So you can see this text right here looks funky. It has a background on it, and it's not the size of the font that I started out with. It's not that 10 point. So why is that happening? It's because you're not only copying this text, but you're copying the style of the text on this particular website and pasting it in your document. So how can we avoid that? If I copy text from anywhere online, I can strip the tags that make it look like it does on that website by pasting it into this website here. This strips HTML tags. So I'm just going to paste that in there in strip tags, and I can copy that text and paste it in here. The other thing you can do is click on that text and go over here and remove that highlight, and this text looks okay now. I have gotten complaints, or people are worried that when they do download a brochure or anything like that that they've created and copy text from online, they'll get weird spacing. So it can have some extra spaces, it can have a return somewhere in the middle of the text, and even some text can be larger or smaller than the rest of it. And this you'll only see when you download it as a PDF, and you're not going to see it when you're working on your document in Lucidpress. So in order to avoid that, we use this HTML stripper. So I've stripped the tags and I've copied that text, and I'm going to select all and paste it in there. So I know now that everything will be just as I see it when I download it as a PDF. The other way you can do that is if you copy this text and you email it to yourself, and then copy the text from the email that you receive from yourself and paste it in here. So I'm going to change this text just a bit. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, and I'm going to move the background up, make my text box smaller, and I don't like this jagged edge here. It's left aligned, so I'm going to make it justified. And then I'm going to center my text on my document. I'm going to make these a little bit smaller because I think they might be too large. And when I do that, they're not centered anymore. So I'm going to center them again. Move my background up. And I want a different heading down here. So an easy way to copy an element you already have on your document is to select it with your mouse and then hold down Alt and drag it. And that copies it. And I'm going to reduce the size a little bit and put some text right on there. And just put some key features of my listing here. And I get that line right there by shift and clicking the key right above your return key or your enter key. Okay, and I want this text to be white, and I want it to be centered in my document. So again, this is left align, so I am going to center it, and I can align it that way, or if I know the text is centered, I can just make my text box the width of my document. So again, I'm going to use my arrow keys and move this up just a little bit because I'm going to make this background a little bit shorter. I'm going to move that up. And now I need my photo, contact information, logo, and Reinhardt logo. So to quickly do that, my text panel here, I have smart fields, and I can drag and drop my profile image. I can scale that down. And drag and drop my logo. And I can get my all my contact information. If I click this, it'll fly out and I don't have to keep clicking on the text icon there. I'm going to do my title, cell phone number, email address, and website. And I'm going to grab, I'll just close that. I'm going to zoom in down here so I can see this more closely. Zoom in with this plus or minus. And I'm going to align all these text boxes. So I can feel it, it's snapping. Lucidpress helps me align. And I'm going to align them to the left there. And kind of eyeball the spacing. I can use my arrow keys to move things up or down. I can highlight and then move both at once. And I'm going to make my name just a little bit bigger. I have to move this over and make my text box a little larger. And I'm going to put a comma right after my name. So if I'm trying to move something and align it, sometimes it can get, Lucidpress helps you align, but sometimes it can just stick in the wrong places. It's like, oh, I want to align that realtor bottom with the bottom of my name. So you can turn off snapping. So now I have a little more freedom of where I place my elements. Then I can turn snapping back on because snapping really does help. And I'm going to shift and move this a little bit higher. Okay, and now I'm going to highlight all of these text boxes and change this font so it matches the rest of my document. And then I'm also going to group this together. If I click Command G, just undid that. So highlight it all and Command G or Control G, and that groups elements together. And I'm going to align them at the bottom of this photo. If I want to edit anything in this group, I double click. And let's say I want to make my name red and my title red. And I just double click outside of that group and I go back to my editing view. Now I have my logo and then I need to add the Reinhardt logo. To be compliant, I click on Image Manager, click Manage so that the full Image Manager opens up, and I select Brand Images. And this houses all of Reinhardt's market share graphs, sold and for sale signs, Reinhardt logos. And this checkered background here, that just means that this has a transparent background. So this Reinhardt logo has a transparent background. So I'm going to select this Reinhardt logo. And I'm going to scale it down because that's way too big. And I need to be compliant, so the Reinhardt logo needs to be as tall or larger in point size than my name and the name in my logo. So we are successful in doing that. And I also need to add either the Reinhardt address or a Reinhardt phone number for the main office. And I'm going to make this just a little bit smaller. And type this in here. Okay, and I want the office to be aligned on the left and the right of the logo. So what I can do here to make incremental adjustments is change the space in between each letter, and that's this right here, this character spacing. And then you could also change the size, the width of each character. So let's change, a little bit goes a long way, so I'm going to do 98. And that looks pretty good. I'm just going to use my arrow key. Good enough. And so I'm going to select both of those elements and group them together, and then align them to the bottom of my logo. And then I also want to align it to the left here. So I'm going to move this over. I'm kind of eyeballing things here. See, again, this is not snapping where I want it to. All right, and I'm just going to do one more thing. I want to put a line in between these elements here. I'm just trying to make this text box as wide as my elements down here. That's pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to make this just a little bit smaller and center it again. And then I'm going to select this text box and this red border, or red background. And it looks like I've selected this gray background as well. So if I hold down Shift and click on that gray background, now I only have these two elements selected. I can group these together so that next time I don't have to do this. I can just hold down Shift and move this up, and this moves it in a straight line. Hold down Shift and move this up, and moves that in a straight line. Use my arrow keys to put it down just a little bit. And then I can put a line in between these elements down here and this text. And if I click here and hold down Shift, it makes this line a straight line. And I let go of Shift and the mouse at the same time. And when you put a line on your document, it's always 2 pixels. So I'm going to reduce that. I'm going to make it 0.75. And it doesn't do, it'll round up to the next increment here, so it's 0.8. And I'm going to change the color of this to gray. And I'm going to move it down a little bit with my arrows so that the space is even in between this text box, the line, and this photo. So now I have, I'm going to move this down a little bit too with my arrow key. Now I have my very own feature sheet that I created. You can download this as a PDF if you want to print it, or share it with others, or publish it on the web. This will give you a URL that you can send to people in an email, in a text, put it on a website, or put it on your Facebook page. And I hope this tutorial has been helpful for you. Thank you.